My wife lay on a hospital bed pretending to be dead. I rushed over and slapped her twice, hard. Then I called the organ donation department. I planned to show my love by having them take her heart and lungs. In my previous life, I was consumed by grief. After drinking the water my wife's best friend handed me, I slept unconscious for 3 days and 2 nights. When I woke again, my wife had already been cremated to ashes. Before I could even mourn, debt collectors came knocking. Only then did I learn that my wife had racked up more than 10 million yuan in debt before she died. They not only took both my kidneys, but forced me to work 24 hours a day to repay them. In just 10 years, I aged until I looked over 80. Then, at that very moment, my wife, supposedly dead for 10 years, appeared with her lover in her arms. They drove past me in a luxury car. With a smile, she threw down 100 yuan. She said it was to thank me for my sacrifices. I could not catch my breath, and met my maker on the spot. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my wife suffered her heart attack. Looking at my wife beneath the white sheet, I sneered inwardly. Since you want to die, I will grant your wish. My wife's best friend, Wang, kept urging me to drink water. I came back to myself and looked at her. In my previous life, I passed out after drinking this very cup of water. I was almost completely certain that this water had been drugged. It was meant to make me miss Liu Ruyan's cremation. I set down the cup, ignoring Wang Yao's attempts to stop me. I walked to Liu Ruyan's bedside. I pulled back the sheet. Liu Ruyan's complexion was rosy. She even seemed to be breathing evenly. I had been too heartbroken, too foolish, too stupid in my previous life to see something so obvious. I raised my hand. Liu Ruyan did not move an inch. Apparently, she feared I would expose her, so she had herself anesthetized. Wang Yao let out a scream. She thought I had discovered Liu Ruyan was faking her death. Brother-in-law, even if you are angry, you cannot hit her that hard. Looking bitterly disappointed, I cried. You should not stay up so late all the time. I told you to get a checkup. Why would you not listen to me? You left me all alone. What am I supposed to do? Wang Yao swallowed hard, then froze on the spot. I could not be bothered to argue with her. I took out my phone and made a call. Yes, I want to arrange an organ donation. She just died. Please come quickly. Wang Yao wanted to stop me, but she had no standing to object. So she took out her phone and quickly sent a message. The organ donation staff arrived within minutes. I put on a grief-stricken expression. My wife has always been a kind person. Now that she has died so suddenly, I want her life to live on. And I hope she can save more people. Sir, your selflessness is admirable. On behalf of those families, thank you. Which organs would you like to donate? I sighed and said, my wife died of a sudden heart attack. I do not know which organs can still be donated. Just open her up and take whatever is still usable. If none of her organs can be used, donate her body to a medical school as a cadaver. You cannot do that. Brother-in-law, Sister Ruyan never wanted to donate her organs. She told me so before. We must respect Sister Ruyan's final wishes. Wang Yao, I am Ruyan's husband. I can make this decision. You and Ruyan are only close friends, with no blood relation. Who do you think has the right to decide? I do not need to spell it out for you. And every minute you delay us, her organs spoil for another minute. You are a doctor yourself. Do you not want to save lives and heal the wounded? The organ donation staff spoke up as well. Exactly, Dr. Wang. Please step aside. How could Wang Yao possibly step aside? She was so panicked, she was practically jumping out of her skin. I just called your mother. At the very least, you should let Annie see Sister Ruyan one last time. Liu Ruyan's mother, Du Xiaomin, rushed over anxiously. She had not even removed the curlers from her hair. She had apparently been at the salon. When she saw Liu Ruyan lying intact on the hospital bed, she sighed in relief. Then she slapped me across the face. What good are you? What terrible luck did Ruyan have to marry you? You jinxed my daughter to death, and now you want to cut my daughter open. If anyone dares lay a finger on my daughter today, there will be no donation, no donation. You people, kill him for me. The organ donation staff nearby felt disappointed, but had no choice but to leave. Only then did Wang Yao breathe a sigh of relief. She picked up the white sheet and covered Liu Ruyan. Du Xiaomin sat on the sofa nearby and pointed at me as she cursed. You filthy bastard, you deserve to be cut to pieces. Your own wife is dead, and you are not even grieving. Instead of having her cremated and laid to rest, you want to make her a medical cadaver. You want my daughter cut into 1,000 pieces. Donate yourself instead. You want to be a good person, go die right now. I will decide to donate every part of you. I covered my face and let out a heavy sigh. Mom, I am sorry. I was wrong. I only wanted to. Do not even think about it. Get back home right now. I will take my daughter to the crematorium myself. I immediately fell silent. Meekly, I took the water Wang Yao had brought me earlier and handed it to Du Xiaoman. Du Xiaoman suspected nothing. She was tense and had been shouting nonstop, so her mouth was already dry. She gulped down the entire cup. Wang Yao could not stop her in time. Less than 2 minutes after drinking it, Du Xiaoman fell unconscious. The cold sweat Wang Yao had just wiped away immediately returned. She stammered. Brother-in-law, you are not trying to donate organs again, are you? I shook my head. Of course not. Mom said I cannot. So naturally, I will not keep doing it. Wang Yao relaxed. Annie suddenly passed out. Something may be wrong. You should hurry and take her to the emergency room. I will arrange Sister Ryan's cremation myself. I gave her a faint smile. You have it backwards. You are the doctor. Wang Yao was utterly flustered. She did not know how to argue back. I sneered. I shook off Wang Yao's hand and followed the hearse to the crematorium. Wang Yao cried out, then hurriedly grabbed her phone and started making calls. I looked at Liu Ryan lying on the stretcher and could not help laughing. Then I noticed Liu Ryan's fingers seemed to twitch. It seemed she knew she was about to be cremated. The anesthetic was also wearing off, and she was beginning to wake up. Sir, please hurry. My mother-in-law is trying to steal my wife's body. She insists on donating her organs. I only want my wife to leave this world, whole and intact. The driver answered. You got it. He slammed his foot down on the gas. When I ran into Liu Ryan on the street, 10 years had passed, but her face looked almost the same as it did now. Time had barely touched her. I threw myself in front of her car, wanting to reunite with her, to see clearly whether she really was Liu Ryan, and tell her how much I had missed her all these years. Liu Ryan narrowed her eyes. It took her a long time to barely recognize me. She smiled. It is you. How has it only been 10 years? Yet you look older than my grandfather? My voice was hoarse then, and my back was hunched. I truly did not look 40. I stammered, weren't you dead? To get away from you, I faked my death on purpose. Ha ha. Liu Ryan had not even finished speaking. But what was there left for me not to understand? If she had simply asked for a divorce, there was no way I would have refused. But with a straightforward divorce, I would get half her assets, and she would be branded a cheating scumbag. But faking her death was different. She could leave every debt to me, transfer all her assets, and take on a new identity. With nothing to fear, she could openly be with Boda. I was too furious to speak. Yet Liu Ryan seemed eager to keep talking. Smiling, she told me, back at the hospital, I could actually hear you talking. I still have not forgotten the sound of you crying. I am truly curious. How could a grown man cry with a voice like a honking goose? Ha ha. It was so funny. Ha ha. Amid her mocking laughter, I clutched my chest and collapsed. Boda yelped, oh. Honey, is he trying to throw himself in front of our car and extort us? Let's get out of here. Liu Ryan snapped. What rotten luck. Then she drove away. She did not care whether I lived or died. My last memory was watching their car disappear, before everything went dark. Now, looking at Liu Ryan's youthful, beautiful face, I decided to honor your wish. Since you want to die, I will send you to be cremated as soon as possible. I know you can hear me now. But I do not know whether you can feel pain. I hope you can. That way, you can experience cremation firsthand. After all, being cremated alive, you may be the first person ever. Liu Ryan's fingers trembled slightly. She could not move, but tears streamed down her face. I reached out and wiped away her tears. Do not rush. Once you enter the furnace, there will still be time for you to cry. My phone kept ringing nonstop. Wang Yao and Du Xiaoman were calling. But I was only a pitiful man who had lost his wife. It was only natural that I had no desire to answer, right? With the driver speeding the whole way. A trip that should have taken 30 minutes. Took only 20 minutes, but the crematorium was crowded that day. Liu Ryan would have to wait at least another hour. Frowning, I found the person in charge. My expression suddenly changed, and tears came instantly. My wife died of a sudden heart attack. My mother-in-law fainted when she heard, and she is being resuscitated at the hospital. I have to get back there quickly. Please let my wife be cremated first. I cannot let anything happen to my mother-in-law too. I know you are in a hurry, but everyone else has been waiting a long time too. It would not be right to let you cut in line. Though that was what he said. He held out his hand pointedly. I understood that he wanted money. I immediately took out my phone and transferred him to 1,000 yuan. Please, sir, help me. I am an orphan. My wife and mother-in-law have always been so good to me. I truly cannot lose my mother-in-law too. The supervisor was moved by my sincerity. So Liu Ruyan was moved ahead in line. Less than 10 minutes later, she was pushed into the cremation furnace. The employee was about to press the incineration button, but I stopped him. I could not let him become a murderer. Besides, I wanted revenge with my own hands. At my insistence, the employee agreed. I pressed the button, but at that very moment, Xiaomin and Wang Yao's anxious voices rang out from the entrance. Stop now. Do not cremate her. You stop right there. Pull my daughter out. Brother-in-law, wait. Your mother still has something to say to Ruyan. Get out of here. I will not let you cremate my daughter. Mom, Annie, do not be like this. Even at a moment like this, those two were still trying to continue their fake death scheme. I fell to my knees and said sorrowfully, Mom, Ruyan is gone. Let her rest in peace. I am Ryan's husband. I am not leaving. The argument among the three of us drew quite a crowd. The staff exchanged bewildered looks. What is this melodramatic act you're putting on? A crematorium is not a place for your drama. With that, he pressed the incineration button. Wang Yao and Xiaomin lunged forward desperately, trying to stop him. Like starving tigers pouncing on prey. Their faces were twisted with rage. The employee was startled. He instinctively dodged aside. Wang Yao and Xiaomin could not stop themselves. They crashed directly onto the button. With a thunderous boom, roaring flames instantly swallowed Liu Ruyan. Two screams rang out. Everyone turned to look at Wang Yao and Xiaomin. The crematorium staff began whispering in astonishment. This is the first time I've seen a corpse's hand reach that high, just like a living person's. Good thing it is daytime. If it were midnight, I would think the corpse had risen. I wiped away tears that were not there, and pressed down the smile tugging at my lips. Then I put on a pitiful face and said, my wife was always so good to her mother. She probably heard her mother's voice and wanted to sit up for one last look at her. Then I wiped my eyes before the cremation furnace and said, honey, rest in peace. Do not worry. I will take good care of Mom. I will do my best to reunite her with you soon. Ignoring Xiaomin, who lay limp on the floor, Wang Yao staggered over. When she saw what was inside the cremation furnace, she was scared half to death. She frantically pressed the cremation button. Why will the fire not go out? Put it out, quickly. It was the first time the staff had seen such an agitated family member. They quickly pushed Wang Yao away. Ma'am, we know you are grieving, but the dead cannot return to life. If you keep this up, she won't rest in peace. Wang Yao's face turned terrifyingly pale. She dropped heavily to the floor. It is over. It is over. Everything is ruined now. Xiaomin crawled to my feet on her hands and knees. Grabbing my pant leg, she shrieked, you bastard. You killed my daughter. Give me back my daughter's life. I sighed. Then I pulled out the death certificate and said, I know you are devastated, but Ryan's death has nothing to do with me. She died of a sudden heart attack. If you do not believe me, ask Wang Yao. She personally tried to save Ruyan. She personally issued this death certificate to me. After saying that, I turned to Wang Yao. I could barely suppress the smile at the corner of my mouth. Isn't that right, Wang Yao? Wang Yao had no idea what to say. If she said Ruyan was not dead, where had the death certificate come from? If she said Ruyan was dead, Xiaomin would never believe it. But when I said that, Xiaomin caught on to. It was you. You killed my daughter. My daughter would still be alive. Why did you insist on issuing a death certificate? Now my daughter has been cremated. This is all your fault. What she said was horrifying. Everyone there was stunned. Oh my God. This is murder. Hearing that, Xiaomin rolled her eyes back and fainted on the spot. I reacted quickly. I slapped Wang Yao across the face. Are you out of your mind, Wang Yao? How could you make a joke like that? My wife is dead. That is that. Why would you say such nonsense? My slap left Wang Yao dazed. After hearing this, the staff nearby also assumed Wang Yao was joking and returned to their work. Once Liu Ryan's cremation was finally complete, I put on a furious expression and left the crematorium with Liu Ryan's ashes. You scared Mom unconscious for no reason. You take her to the hospital. It was not that I did not want to stay and watch the spectacle. It was simply because I had more important things to do. When I got home, I casually placed Liu Ryan's ashes somewhere conspicuous in the living room. Then I quickly contacted a lawyer to begin handling the inheritance of Liu Ryan's company and estate and other related matters. In my previous life, I was too devastated. By the time I came to my senses, the company was already gone. If I did not act quickly in this life, then once Xiaomin woke up, she would surely beat me to it. Attorney Chen, Ryan's death was sudden, but she mentioned family trust and overseas accounts before she died. I need you to use every connection you have, within 48 hours, to uncover the true financial records under her name. Mr. Lin, according to the public records, Ms. Liu only has several properties in her name, and that consulting firm about to go under, and tens of millions in debt as well, correct? Attorney Chen, Liu Ryan was shrewd to the bone. She would rather fake her death than get divorced. That means the assets she wanted to protect were worth far more than those tens of millions in debt. Investigate it for me. I will triple your fee. With a generous reward, someone will always rise to the challenge. The following afternoon, I received an encrypted email from Attorney Chen, just as I expected. Liu Ryan used her so-called medical consulting company to launder money and transfer assets for years. Using Wang Yao's medical credentials, she obtained large quantities of illegal prescription drug formulas and registered them under several offshore companies. More ironically, I found a hidden safe. It was located in that rundown garage. When I pushed open its rust-covered rolling door, a wave of mildew stench hit me. In this corner I had never entered in my previous life. I pried open a hidden compartment. There were no jewels inside, only neat stacks of cash and several crypto hardware wallets. Tens of millions in debt. Liu Ryan, you plan to leave me drowning in debt and suffering in hell, while you took Bitcoin worth tens of millions abroad to live happily ever after with Boda? I counted it. The cash here alone totaled over $2 million. I did not rush to deposit it in the bank. Instead, I contacted several lending companies Liu Ryan owed the most money to. I invited the heads of those companies to an upscale private club. When dealing with ruthless loan sharks, the best approach is not to hide, but to buy them off. I invited the heads of several companies to an upscale private club. Gentlemen, Liu Ryan has been cremated. The death certificate is right here. I assume you've all heard the news. Mr. Lin, she may be dead, but the debt remains. You are the primary heir. You have to repay it. I never said I would not repay it. Here are $2 million. As a gesture of good faith, I will pay part of the interest first. As for the remaining debt, once I take over Liu Ryan's company, I will repay you through a lawful equity pledge. But I have one condition. Liu Ryan's mother, Xiaomin, and that man named Boda, may have some of Liu Ryan's hidden money in their possession. They are spreading rumors everywhere now, claiming I committed murder, hoping to use that claim to deny me this inheritance. If they succeed, you may not get a single cent. So, what you're saying, Mr. Lin, is, do not let them interfere with my asset restructuring, and let them taste what it feels like to be hounded for debt. Liu Ryan's company was called Ruyan Trading. The name sounded elegant, but in reality, it was a dirty shell company hiding every kind of corruption. On my first day taking over the company, I brought 12 burly security guards. The finance director, Wang, who was Wang Yao's cousin, was clutching some files, her face white as a sheet. Mr. Lin, this is not proper, is it? Ms. Liu has only just passed away, and you are making such a spectacle of firing us longtime employees. Rules? You embezzled $380,000 in company funds and issued fraudulent tax invoices. Director Wang, do you want to discuss rules with me, or discuss your future with the Economic Crimes Division? You have half an hour. Copy everything from your computer, every email between Liu Ryan and Boda, and all transaction records. Do that, and this $380,000 will be your severance pay. Fail, and you'll go to prison with your cousin. In less than 20 minutes, I had everything I wanted. That included evidence that Liu Ruyan illegally transferred assets to Boda, along with the electronic contracts for properties they bought abroad. These things were originally Liu Ruyan's leverage for starting a new life after faking her death. Now they were my weapons to charge them with fraud and asset transfers. The sky was dark and overcast. I watched the balance in my bank account flicker and change, but felt nothing at all. Liu Ruyan's real estate, the digital assets in her cold wallets, and the equity after consolidating the company were worth over 50 million in total. As for those tens of millions in debt, with my maneuvering, they became Liu Ruyan's personal fraud debts. Since the responsible party was dead, and her assets had been liquidated against the debt, the remaining bad debt was all dumped on Du Xiaomin, the guarantor. That was my final gift to her. Thank you, honey. Now I have money, a house, and a company. From now on, I will live well and freely. More freely than you did in your previous life. I drank myself senseless and passed out on the couch. It was not until the next day that knocking at the door startled me awake. I rubbed my aching, hungover head and opened the door. Outside stood Wang Yao and Du Xiaomin, along with a man who looked a few years older than me. By the look of him, he had to be Boda, whom I had met in my previous life. His face was full of grief and fury. He was holding the hand of a boy about 6 or 7. The boy looked a lot like Liu Ruyan. Could he be Liu Ruyan's illegitimate son with Boda? No wonder Liu Ruyan refused to have children after we married. She had already had a child with her first love. The three of them looked grief-stricken. Dark circles hung heavily beneath their eyes. Several police officers stood behind them. Officers, this is the man. He had my daughter cremated alive. Arrest him now. Cremate him alive too. Let him know how that feels. I had known all along that they would put on this little show. I just did not expect it to come so soon. I sighed as if helpless and said, "Mom, can you not make jokes like that?" As I spoke, I pulled out the death certificate. I sighed and continued. My wife and I were married for 3 years. We were always deeply in love. After learning that my wife had died, I did not want her body to decay, so I had her cremated immediately. Was that really wrong? Du Xiaomin clutched her chest tightly. You are full of it. My daughter had despised you for a long time. You boring bastard. If Boda had been able to divorce back then, how could Ruyan have married you out of spite? You did it on purpose. You deliberately jumped the line to have her cremated, all to get my daughter's inheritance and company. I contacted people at the company yesterday and confirmed it. What else can you deny? I put on an incredulous look, my eyes so red they looked ready to bleed. Mom, you can insult me, but what Ruyan and I had was real. If Ruyan and I had not loved each other, how could she possibly have made me the sole heir to her estate? You claim Ruyan is still alive, but have you not considered this? That is a major hospital. Could they really not tell whether someone was dead or alive? Wang Yao told me herself. She said Ruyan was brain dead and that her heart had stopped beating. What living person is like that? Du Xiaomin signaled Wang Yao to speak, but Wang Yao only lowered her head. It made sense. If she admitted now that the death certificate was fake, her crime would become far more serious. She was better off playing along. The situation immediately reached a stalemate. Boda tugged on Du Xiaomin's sleeve. Du Xiaomin fell silent. He sighed. Ruyan really is not dead. I am Ruyan's boyfriend. Ruyan and I broke up because of a misunderstanding years ago. She married you out of spite. This year, I got divorced. I came to find Ruyan with my child. Ruyan realized she still loved me, so she planned to fake her death and leave you. But we never expected that you would have Ruyan cremated outright. But do not blame Ruyan. She only did this because she did not want to hurt you. She was a kind person. Now that Ruyan is gone, we only hope you can accept this child and let him receive the inheritance he deserves. I took a sip of water, then imitated Du Xiaomin's tone. You are full of it. I know you and Ruyan did not get along. Ruyan's will did not leave you a single cent. So, you brought this child you found who knows where, hoping to slander Ruyan and claim a share of her inheritance, right? I nearly enraged Du Xiaomin to death, but for the money. She managed to keep herself composed. You are full of it. Ruyan and I were very close. This is Ruyan's child. I know that perfectly well. I immediately pulled out Ryan's will. Mom, why are you lying? If you and Ryan were so close, why does this will not even mention your name? Why was the entire estate left to me? Xiaomin was speechless. Boda still hesitated. After all, he could hardly say outright that Ryan had made me her beneficiary, only to saddle me with her debts. I glanced at the child standing behind Boda and sneered inwardly. So that was why she had played the perfect wife for 3 years, then suddenly stopped pretending. Her first love and son had returned. Still, I was not heartbroken. After all, I had already died once. Keeping my expression calm, I said, "You say this child is Ryan's. Then show us proof. For example, a legally recognized parentage test. Or a birth certificate." Boda and Xiaomin froze. There is no paternity test. The child was born at home, so there is no birth certificate either. But he is Ryan's child. Officer, do you see what is happening? They knew my wife had already been cremated, so they deliberately brought a child to my door to demand an inheritance. Then they made the outrageous claim that I cremated my wife. But what they are saying is riddled with contradictions. Xiaomin said anxiously. I can get tested with the child to prove that I am his grandmother. Would that not prove he is Ryan's child too? That does not count. It would only prove that you and the child are related. But your familial relationship to Ryan cannot establish that this child is hers. Even if it did, it would still not prove that you and your husband had no children besides Ryan. The officer shook his head. I struggled not to laugh. The reason I had insisted on cremating Ryan then was largely because I feared something like this. I never expected my gamble to pay off. Xiaomin and Boda exchanged a look. Boda gritted his teeth. No matter whose child he is, Ryan truly was not dead. He was the one who cremated Ryan. He is a murderer. He cannot inherit Ryan's estate. Boda was not wrong about that. But first, you have to prove I am a murderer. I suddenly turned to Wang Yao. Wang Yao, tell us, is Ryan alive or dead? You are a doctor. You have a family too. Think carefully before you answer. You may not remember, but I remember who pressed the incinerator button then. You and Mom rushed forward and pressed it. If Ryan was truly alive, then you and Mom are the murderers. I twisted their attempt to stop me then, into them deliberately pressing the button. Before Xiaomin could say, "You are full of it," Wang Yao gritted her teeth and said, "Ryan really is dead." I breathed a sigh of relief. But Boda raised his phone. "I knew you would lie. That is why I brought proof." Boda played a video on his phone. The video showed Boda, Ryan, Wang Yao, and Xiaomin sitting together on a sofa, discussing the plan to fake Ryan's death. Ryan's voice came from the phone, as revolting as it had been in my previous life. "Find a way to knock my husband out, then tell him I have already been cremated. Once it is done, I will give you 1 million yuan. But the surveillance footage was incomplete. It did not include the 4 of them discussing how to make me take on the debts. Wang Yao crouched down, at a complete loss for how to defend herself. I really did not know. Boda seemed to relax. "I really was not lying to you. You really did kill Ryan. So, you should go to prison. This entire estate should belong to Annie." I put on a frightened expression and said nothing. After gathering my emotions for a moment, I looked utterly grief-stricken, with no hint of pretense. "Officer, I want to file a report. The 3 of them deliberately made my wife fake her death and did not tell me." I was devastated then. I was so devastated that I never realized my wife was still alive. Those 2 knew I planned to donate my wife's organs and have her cremated, yet deliberately hid the fact that she was alive. They did it on purpose. They deliberately wanted me to cremate my wife, then show up with someone to seize her estate. I believed my wife had died. I followed the proper procedure and cremated her. Was that wrong too? Clearly, it was not. The 2 had not expected me to be so articulate. They thought learning this would break me and leave me at their mercy. But I had already died once. I was no longer the naive, foolish man I had been in my last life. The moment I woke up, I had already decided how I would walk every step ahead. My grief left my voice hoarse. When I wanted to donate her organs, Mom, you were there too. When you refused the donation, why did you not tell me the truth? If all she wanted was a divorce, how could I have refused? It was clearly you two. You deliberately deceived Ryan. made her believe your lies, and choose to fake her death. You made me the sinner who sent my own wife to the crematorium. How could you be so heartless? That was because Ruyan insisted you had to believe it, so I could only stop you from donating her organs. I did not dare tell you the truth. Then what about this? On my way to the crematorium, you called me. That proves you knew I was taking Ruyan to be cremated. I was too devastated then to answer the call. Then why did you not send a text? And when we arrived at the crematorium, Ruyan had clearly not been cremated yet. Why did you not tell the truth? Instead, in front of everyone, you deliberately pressed the incinerator button. Xiaomin and Wang were speechless, but I knew why. They confidently believed there was still time. As long as they distracted me at the crematorium for a while, their plan would succeed. After all, great rewards require great risks. This farce ended without a conclusion. Each side claimed it was right, and neither would back down. The police had no choice but to take us all to the station for temporary detention, pending investigation. But after several days of investigation, they found that I truly was a simple, unsuspecting husband. I had no idea Liu Ruyan had been cheating on me. I never questioned Liu Ruyan's business trips or social engagements. I never looked through her phone. They also interviewed my neighbors, friends, and co-workers, then reviewed the home surveillance footage from before Liu Ruyan died. They confirmed we had been a loving, inseparable couple. We had never even argued, based on the evidence alone. A husband like me, how could I possibly kill my own wife for no reason? The statements from Xiaomin, Wang and Boda, they were full of holes. They had countless chances to tell me that Liu Ruyan was alive, yet waited until after I cremated Liu Ruyan to tell me. Wang and Xiaomin in particular saw Liu Ruyan enter the incinerator, but still refused to tell the truth. They even pressed the button themselves. They claimed it was an accident, but who would believe that? And that was not all. The whole fake death scheme from the start had already been outrageous enough. So the investigation concluded that I was merely an innocent, grieving man who had lost his wife. The other three were jailed on suspicion of murder. After they were released on bail, Xiaomin and Boda refused to accept it. They kept sending people to corner me. First, I contacted building management. Then I called the police. But they clung to me like a curse I could not shake. Finally, left with no choice, I used the Liu Ruyan's inheritance to hire 100 bodyguards. I gave them one order. Listen carefully. If anyone causes trouble again, other than these two shameless fools, beat the hell out of every one of them. I will pay the damages if I have to. Yes, sir. After a few rounds of that, Xiaomin and Boda were still unharmed. But everyone else they had incited paid the price. They practically filled the hospital's monthly quota. In the end, no matter how Xiaomin and Boda tried to provoke them, no one was willing to cause trouble for them anymore. The two could only rage helplessly. They could only hope to kill me with their stares. I was delighted to watch them make fools of themselves. Right in front of them, I enjoyed my life. Champagne and fine wine, sports cars and beautiful women. I made up for every regret from my past life. It drove Xiaomin and Boda mad with rage. Then, 3 months later, the verdict came down. All three were convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. When the police arrived with the arrest warrants, Xiaomin put on quite a performance. She made a dramatic scene, threatening to kill herself. She climbed onto the balcony and threatened to jump. She said I had murdered my own wife, that I was worse than an animal, and that I would go to hell when I died. She said the police were perverting the law for personal gain and treating human lives as worthless. More and more spectators gathered below. Xiaomin seemed to see hope. She tried to stir up the crowd's emotions and get them to stand up for her. She spoke with great passion, her voice choked with sobs, tears streaming down her face. Until an hour later, someone casually said, "Are you coming down or not? Is this accomplishing anything?" Xiaomin jumped up in fury, but her foot slipped. She plunged straight down. With a loud crash, she died on the spot. Wang did not fare any better. After the scandal spread, her husband immediately divorced her. He took their child away and ordered the child to cut all ties with Wang. The child was never to acknowledge her as a mother again. Before the police came for her, Wang begged me more than once. She hoped that, for the sake of our friendship, I would write her a letter of forgiveness. But when my home was shattered and my loved ones were gone in my last life, who had shown me any mercy? You reap what you sow. She had to bear the consequences herself. One last time, She stripped naked in front of me. I sneered and had my 100 bodyguards throw her out. Later, I heard Wang Yao attempted suicide several times in prison. However, none of her attempts succeeded. Boda was even more ridiculous. He actually tried to play the family card with me. President Lin, the child is innocent. You love Liu Ruyan so much. How can you bear to let her own flesh and blood lose both parents and become an orphan? Besides, this child has been smart since childhood. He can help you run the company someday. As for me, President Lin, I am not asking for much. As the child's biological father, just give me a few million to live on in retirement. I promise I will never appear before you again. Smiling, I told him, I have already contacted an orphanage. The child will be well cared for. As for you, Ruyan is too lonely down there. You need to keep her company. You bastard. You will die a miserable death. As Boda furiously cursed at me, I walked out of the police station with a smile. I had finally made a clean break with the past. After it was all over, I dismissed the 100 bodyguards. I gave them generous severance pay. There was one female bodyguard among them. She had been diligent and devoted at work, and her personality suited me perfectly. She was not only beautiful, and I saw loyalty in her too. So I sold my old home. Using the inheritance Liu Ruyan left me, I bought a larger home in a better location. Then the female bodyguard and I moved in together, just the two of us. As for Liu Ruyan's ashes, I kept them with me at all times, because I believe heaven is watching. I wanted her to see clearly from above just how happy I am. President Lin, what do we do next? The curvy female bodyguard with the sharp eyes was unexpectedly a little shy this time. She stood behind me, nervously rubbing her hands. I smiled. Of course, I am doing my civic duty. We will try for triplets in one pregnancy.